I'm sure you've heard about trench watches from World War I. Well, here is a contemporary watch based on those vintage styles from the early 1900s. Pocket watch case shape, large readable dial, and wire lugs. I'll show you the details, pros and cons, and aesthetics of this Vario 1918 pilot watch on this episode of Adventures with Time. Right from your first look, you'll notice some key design differences between the Vario 1918 pilot watch and those you have in your collection. But it is those exact aspects that creates the appeal of this watch, as well as apprehension for some. Let me first hit those design characteristics which may be detracting to some. Wire lugs. Before the invention of spring bars, wire loops were attached to a watch case such that a strap could be used to hold the watch on one's wrist. The problem for today's watch enthusiasts is that most strap options will not work on wire lugs, specifically two-piece straps. There are options, such as the boon strap supplied with this Vario watch. NATO and Zulu-styled straps will also work. As with any strap, where the lugs can be folded around a fixed lug bar. Some may not like the roughly 50-degree tilt of this dial. This design element is theoretically implemented to enable telling time without the need to move one's wrist, so pilots can keep both hands on the controls. However, what is the value of this tilt to those of us who aren't pilots or race car drivers? Does this now become an awkward feature? And there is the case shape, styled to resemble a pocket watch of the early 1900s to which those lugs were attached. Do you like this somewhat bulbous profile? If the trench watch attributes appeal to you, stay with me as I review the other design elements that may impact a buying decision. Despite being a reasonably sized 40mm case, this watch wears big, especially on this boon strap. The dial extends almost the entire width of the case, and with white printing against a black enamel base, readability is no problem, assuming you can adapt to that tilted dial. I should note that despite the anti-reflective coating, you can get some glare off the double-dome crystal, however, not sufficient to prevent time telling. The case shape, as mentioned before, has a puffed-up look. The brushed case side leads virtually seamlessly into a polished bezel, then leading into a domed crystal, all exaggerating the overstuffed look. You can reduce the apparent size of this watch by removing the wrist pad on the boon strap that sits behind the case. I'm not sure I like this look. What do you think? Note that removing the wrist pad does enable you to view the Miyota 8N33 movement. Although not embellished much, the skeletonized plates provides a nice view of the balance, many gears, and levers. This is not an automatic movement, so you'll have to wind it every day given its 40-hour power reserve. I had no issues operating the push-pull crown just to the side of the top lug. I did have an issue with the loom. Not that long-lasting loom is important to me. However, the loom did seem to disappear quickly. I found the watch to sit comfortably on my wrist, especially when using the full bun strap, and it is somewhat distinctive in its looks. It is not one of those ubiquitous look-alike watches we get bombarded with constantly, an issue I discussed in a recent video, which I'll leave a link to at the end. Other than a true vintage watch from the early 1900s, you'll probably have a hard time finding anything like this, except of course for the Vario 1918 trench watch, which has a very similar look, except for the non-tilted dial and running second subdial. I really can't find any issues with this watch. Yes, there are design choices made, somewhat driven by the vintage watches after which Vario is styling, but that is a matter of taste. I find the 1918 pilot watch to be well built and finished nicely, considering you get a beautiful watch with an uncommon look at $388 US retail. I think it's hard to ignore this watch. If you are having trouble finding watches with distinctive styles, take a look at this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next episode.